Okay, next step, it's adding a little roof. If you check the slides, it's as simple as you know that you select first the face, then you create the rectangles. You can place the new line there, whatever you prefer, and create a form. Now, in order to make more parametric lines, you probably need to make a dimension line from the top to the bottom of this face, and you can set a setback by selecting first this face and go to dimensions, and you say from this plane to this plane, and now you can say, for example, select that face. You can change that here and make it a parameter, or you can just select the dimension and add a parameter. No, you can set it to setback, and in front you can place the obvious things such as a tower setback. You can even call it setback 1 if you had several setbacks, etc. And you just say OK. That will change to the name, and you can try and see if it works by going again to the parameters and checking the setback. Tower setback, and you can set it to 10, for example, and it will change, as you can see. So another parameter I would recommend you guys doing is another height, like a tower height 2 from these 2 points. Okay, so that's good. I can save this obviously and call it parameter mass or something. What I'm going to do is, instead of loading into the project all the pieces together, I'm actually going to save as 2 times. I'm going to say save as family, and I'm going to name it parameter mass underscore and say tower, for example. And I'm going to delete from that one well, let me actually save as first as well. Save and save as family, and I'm going to save, instead of tower, I'm going to call that one gym underscore atrium. So I have 2 conceptual masses that come from the same. So now if I'm under the gym and atrium, I'm going to select the different parts by tabbing and deleting the components of the tower. I'm going to even delete the lines that I had there before, which are bothering me, and I'm going to save this alone. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to load that into the project. Okay, I have a line here, I think, out. If I load it into the project, if you have several projects, this is what happens. It tells you where do you want it to place. So I'm going to place it in my base project, and I'm going to say OK. It should open the base project automatically. And should allow you to place it wherever you want. Now the 00 coordinate is the constraint. If you load it into the project and the site plan, I'm going to escape that. If the site plan does not open, meaning you don't have the origin point, you go to the site plan, double click, and you go to architecture and you say component. The last inserted family will be there. So you go to the 00 and you place it. Okay, you escape, you only place it once. Let's go to the 3D and see how that looks. There it is, inside of the volume. Now this is, I didn't even check, so it could be that in your case it's actually outside for whatever reason. Okay, I'm going to save that. I'm going to open the tower mass, and remember that I have every ingredient here, so I'm going to delete the component of the atrium and the gym here. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to load into the project again, the same one. Okay, so again, if it doesn't open in the site plan, you just escape, you go to the architecture, place under the site, you snap to the 00, go to the 3D, and there it is. So here's where I detect a problem, no? Well, this is coming outwards in regards to the envelope. So I need to go back. You can double click on that side, or you just Control Tab and search for it. Okay, there it is. Well, the parameters, if you have the top parameter, you will change that parameter as well. But in my case, I'm going to change the parameter for the tower height, and I'm going to set it to half for now and see what happens. Or actually probably seems too low, so 120, 130. Now if you change something from one of the families, you always have to save it. You have to load into the project, make sure it's loaded to the same one, you say OK, and here always going to ask you, you want to override it. So if you have changed parameters only, you have to override it and also change the parameter values. It's the second options to the bottom. Okay, we don't see how it's changing because we're in the plan, but now we see that it's actually properly set. So the setback is correct. I could increase the setback, which is another parameter, etc., etc. So I'm happy with this result. Okay, why not? I mean, definitely you want to check as we go on, like the length and the width of the tower properly to see that to check that your classes are properly installed and they have a proper corridor, etc., etc. Okay, but I'm happy. The thing to do, you could have done it before, but I'm going to do it after. Is like actually I'm going to hide the envelope by right-clicking and hide this guy. It's kind of in the middle. And remember that we have two families, 1 and 2. Okay, if you bring everything at the same time and you create floors, you will create floors for both of them, and you won't be able to separate them. I'll talk about it in a second. Another thing that I'm seeing is that actually the connection between the gym and the atrium is not properly set. They're not like Boolean union, or they're not joined. So in that sense, I'm going to Control Tab, and I'm going to go to my atrium and gym here, and I'm going to join them. Remember how it is? You just go to press join here. You set 1, click, and click the second one. Okay, and it joins them. I'm going to save it and load into the project. Again, the same project. Okay, override, just in case if any parameter had changed. The second options, and it's perfect now. Okay, I'm going to create levels. That again you could have done before. To do so, as you know, the elevation levels should the levels in the elevation or intersection, if you have one, should be changed. First thing that I noticed that the elevations are not that clean, so I'm going to start moving them around to make sure that they're away from the volume itself. Okay. Now I see that the envelope is also shown there, so I'm going to just right click and hide element as well. Okay, we're going to need a basement, so I'm going to select the level and I'm going to copy a CO downwards 14. Now in my case, from level 1 to level 2 is 14 feet because I think I changed it, but if you have your defaults here still, that would be 10, and it's definitely not good. It's too low. Okay, he names it level 10. Not cool at all, no? So let's leave it level 0, for example, and let's call it basement. Okay. Now I'm going to make the level 2 actually be a little bit higher because it's the first entrance floor, so probably that floor should be generous, no? I'm going to say like 16 or even 18 feet. Okay, the next one I'm going to copy it, CO up 14. Okay, now normally the volumes should correspond with the levels, so probably the height of the atrium could be 32, no? So normally you would take notes of this, or you just go directly and you change it in your conceptual mass. Again, the height of the atrium is 35, and I think I say 32, so I will go to the parameters, height of the atrium, 32, apply, it comes down, I save, and I load into the project. Override parameters, it comes down, there you go, and I continue my levels. So I'm going to copy them, I'm going to copy them multiple so I can do many of them at the same time. Okay, things that I can change. I can change the height of the top of the tower to be 186, okay? So, or to be from here to there, which is actually 56. So I can go back to the conceptual mass of the tower and select this plane by tabbing. I will get the dimension here, and I can select 56 here, so it comes down. Save, load into project, OK, override parameters, and it should come down properly. Another one that I could change is the level, which is level 12. I should rename them properly, but basically the level 4 should be aligned as well. So 46 feet, the top of the gym. I go to the conceptual mass, I go to the parameters, I search for the gym height, 46, comes down, save, load into project, OK. So again, every time I do this, it's a good exercise for you to understand the idea of links as well. It's an XREF of a volume, no? Now another thing is that I need something going on towards the bottom 14 feet, the basement. I need a space there. So I want to go to each of these, come to the bottom, tap until I select the bottom plane, and I say create form. Okay, there you go. Now how do I change the height? Well, automatically you get these numbers, so you can say actually 14. You can save that, load into the project, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, and it should come down. There it is. Last, the tower. I go to the bottom, I tap until I select the bottom plane. There it is. Create form and change that dimension to be 14. Save, load into project, OK, override, and there it comes down. No? Good. Next step before I stop this one, it's very simple. I'm going to actually hide the terrain so you understand what's going on. Hide element. Well, we need to create what is called the floor for the masses. So you select first the mass, and it comes this little symbol called mass floors. You click that and you select all the levels that you wanted to have a floor in it. So in that sense you use shift to select all of them. Actually, we should rename this properly, level 3, 4, etc. And you guys know how to do that, so I'm not going to do it. So rename, and you also know how to take them here into the floor plans. Otherwise, I'll explain in a second. You click there, you say OK, and this is what happens. You get these sandwiches here inside. Yes, I'm going to Control C that. You select the conceptual mass, mass floors, and what it says is, hey, where do you want a floor? And that's why we created the levels first. So we tell Revit that we want a floor or a future floor, because it's exactly not a floor. It's like a future potential floor. We check on the levels we want a floor, say OK, and there they come. Okay. Now the gym and the atrium are going to be different. That's why I actually separate them. Let's say mass floors, and I only want the mass floor in the basement, level 1 and level 2. Actually level 1, not even level 2. And there you go. Again, you can go to mass and inside and turn off the masses. It will turn on and off everything. Now those are not floors, those are part of the world of masses, okay? It's just, we're going to be able to create a floor very easily out of these elements, okay? I'm going to do one example actually. If you go to architecture and you go to floor, you expand it, you have floor by face. You can say floor by face, select the floor you want. Let's imagine you want to, well, there's only generic, but you can say I want to be a generic floor, the one here. So you select it and create floor, and there it is. That's a potential floor that becomes automatically, if we turn off the conceptual mass, a real project entity, no? Not a mass entity. Okay. Good, but we don't need the floors now. I only need this. And again, this part is the part of the FAR. So once you have declared the parameters, you don't really bring this element here. That's the one that you have to place 2 axes. The one that you bring here is the one you're testing. It's a bit more experimental. The one that you create the floors with, again, is that one is more experimental. Okay, so I'm going to close that for the last video in a second.